right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Good evening. And this is our very first virtual Daly City Arts and Culture Commission Artist Dialogue. So after months of wondering, what are we going to do if we don't have a physical space to meet and enjoy art? How are we going to do this? And so this is, well, we can't thank Verma enough for being our first here tonight. So before we begin, it was Indigenous Peoples Day yesterday, and it is every day. I would like to pause and acknowledge that Daly City, California sits on the land of the Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and to all Ohlone people of the past, present, and future. I would like to introduce some of our Daly City Arts and Culture Commissioners. I'm Arlene Douse-Magball. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the chair of the commission. We have Commissioner Nancy Rodriguez, who is our vice chair, Commissioner Elizabeth Espinda, Commissioner Dory Paniza, Commissioner Joanne Boston, and of course our Daly City staff and support team, Leilani Ramos and Stephen Stolte. Um, Thank you so much for coming. And we do have one council member on the line, Dr. Rod Doss-Magwal. Um, and so our Daily City Artist Dialogue is a way for us to learn from local, national, and global artists who can give us multiple approaches and perspectives of art and culture. Tonight, we are featuring Verma Soria Zapanta. She is a migrant settler born and raised in Yalamu occupied Ramaytush Ohlone territory, San Francisco. Her Visayan lineage spans the islands of Leyte and Bohol. She is a photographer, mental health advocate, educator, and student of Hilo, an indigenous healing art from the Philippines. Tonight, she's going to talk about her work, Hinumdumi ang imong tambal, Remember Your Medicine, a photographic journey in relearning and remembering the medicine of our ancestors. Let's welcome Verma Soria Zapanta.
Thank you. Daghang salamat. Maayong gabi. Magandang gabi. Good evening. My name is Verma Soria Zapanta. I'm the daughter of Teresa Soria Abelano, Veronica Zapanta, and Sania Abelano, the granddaughter of Luisa Conoy Cacao and Celso Soria, and great-great-granddaughter of Transfiguracion Capuyan Enriquez, Isaac Conoy, Jesus Soria, and Josefa Silao, dialing in from Yalamu, occupied Ramaytush Ohlone territory, forcibly named San Francisco, California. I want to express my gratitude to the Ohlone people for the privilege of being birthed here and the opportunity to thrive on this land. As a non-Indigenous person, a non-Black person, and as a settler, I'm a benefactor of colonization, and I am committed to being a better accomplice and steward of this land that continues to hold me and my family. I arrived today with deep gratitude. I am an extension of my ancestors, my teachers, and the communities that raised me. Many of those community members are here in this space. I arrive as a humble culture bearer and long life student in the healing arts of my ancestral land, the archipelago forcibly named the Philippines. Daly City has a special place in my heart as it was the land that greeted my family when they first immigrated here in the 1970s after leaving their home in Manila. Daly City raised me in the early years of my life. Shout out to the West Lake Tigers. I went there for 2 years and commuting back and forth to San Francisco. My mother graduated from Jefferson High School, so we have some roots in Daly City. And so I'm really grateful to return to my roots in this way. So daghang salamat, thank you, Daly City Arts Commission, for gifting me the opportunity to share my journey this evening. Hinumdumi ang imong tambal is Cebuano for Remember Your Medicine. Excuse me as I fumble over my Cebuano and my Tagalog. I'm trying to iron out my tongue to remember my grandmother and my mother's language, so please bear with me. My sharing today isn't so much of an explanation of my work, but really like a glimpse into a bittersweet journey in mourning and remembering what was once lost. I hope it resonates with you all tonight who are on a similar path of reconnecting to ancestral memories. I I wanted to start off with a quote here from an elder of mine. Um, it's called Hinahon, Holding the Last Thread Sacred. When we grow in spirit, we connect to the divine source, and our journey opens doors for us to be of service to others. This combination of personal growth and service to others is our true purpose and our compass towards living this life fully and wholeheartedly. For those who lived before us knew this, the legacy of wisdom that has been passed down to us by our ancestors to be treasured and protected and to be handed on is like a rope of vibrant colors. The colors of life that serve as lessons to guide us in our own path. Sadly, the rope threads have been heavily severed and broken because some of us have chosen to forget who we are. At this time, we are left with a single thread still connected, and we see that it is overly stretched. Any moment, any time, it can tear and be lost forever. And yet, the call of our ancestors is still reaching out, and once it reached us, our souls cannot be tamed. These are words of my elder at the Janet, and it's derived from an invitation, an email to come back to the motherland this past January 2020 to learn about our ancestral medicine. For 5 weeks, alongside four other sisters in the Filipinx diaspora, we studied alongside her, studying plant medicine, hilot, and observed, learned, and participated in rituals with both indigenous and non-indigenous elders from throughout the island of Palawan. And so I wanted to show these particular images of my recent journey to the Philippines. I was just 2 days shy of being in lockdown in the Philippines, actually. It happened during COVID. Yeah, so like I was in Palawan and people were wearing masks in the supermarket, and we got heard of a child supposedly contracting COVID up in El Nido. And so I was in Asia for 7 weeks during all of that. And so coming home just 2 days shy, I knew I was in the right place at the right time. But I wanted to show these particular images of my recent journey to really speak to the current conversations happening within our diasporic community around decolonization, around cultural practices, around indigenization, around appropriation versus appreciation, around wellness, around mental health, around ritual, and really about belonging. Um, Even though there's a lot of tension happening in our community right now of what people are allowed to have or not have, are allowed to claim or not claim, I think it's beautiful to see the transformation and the shifts that are happening in our identities. And so I'm really trying to be open and learn from all of the folks who are engaging in those conversations. And so this is my contribution to that. This photograph, and I also wanted to preface too, I've never done an artist share. It's actually really I was like so nervous. I had like some stomach issues going on earlier. I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Then Arlene was actually texting me. He's like, hey, are you all right? So I just wanted to say excuse me for like my nerves. But I've never been invited to do an artist talk. I actually I've been a photographer since I was a child, really inheriting my mother's love for taking Kodaks of our, relatives, but never really done it like publicly. And so being invited to share my photographs in Daly City was like not the first time I've gotten to do that, but the first time I would have done it in person. Because the last time and the only time I was asked to share photographs, I was in the Philippines, so I didn't have to deal with socializing. So please excuse my nerves. The medium that I am presenting to you all are digital. I dabble a little bit with like digital and film photography. Some of the photographs are from my SLR, and some of my photographs are actually from my iPhone. So I'm really trying to learn how to use all of my devices. This image is called nganga. So nganga is actually several different objects, but I'm going to focus on this leaf first. This is a betel nut leaf. also known as buyo. It's a climbing vine, and you can actually it has medicinal properties. Like it could be used for coughs, or you heat it up, and it can be used for ailments of the stomach. But what you see happening here is an offering being prepared for the spirits of the land and for the ancestors who's protecting this individual. Um, this is one of my teachers, Davi. Davi is a elder, a young elder who is also on his path of decolonization. I think that there's a misconception that because um, Filipinos who are in the diaspora, who are not in the Philippines, are much more disconnected, where in fact we have our own kin in the motherland who are experiencing just as much loss. And so I thought it was really powerful to see my kasama, who's living in the motherland, also on his journey of remembering. He's actually a DJ. He's a club DJ. um, he was a tattoo artist during that resurgence of like, or the learnings of like tattoos and tribal tattoos that was happening here in the United States or throughout the diaspora. And, that was happening in the Philippines, and he was studying amongst those elders that we're starting to see covered in like those, like, unlike those, like ads and like those documentaries and stuff. But what Davi is preparing here is is an offering for this place where he actually got invited to do a DJ gig at. And the traditional offering, you would put really old coins, you would put tobacco leaf, you would put beads, and you would also prepare betel nut, which is apog, limestone, and you put it all together and you actually open up that green lime looking thing, and the betel nut is inside. And so it's an offering for protection and to also give thanks for continuing to be safe on their journey. Uh, this photograph is called Lana. And those beautiful brown hands that you see in that big bowl, they're extracting coconut milk from coconut meat. This was a day long endeavor. One of our guides to a remote private island or private beach in like maybe about three hours away from Puerto Princesa. One person, two people actually climbed up these 50, 60-foot coconut trees to harvest nyog, mature coconuts, and cracked them open. And there was about 8 of us who were on this device. That's actually a blade that's my sister Anit's hands, who is using the kudkuran to grind the meat from the coconut husk. From there, you would pour water or whatever liquid into the meat, and then you would squeeze the milk out of there. But that was just one part of the process. You still have to boil the coconut milk to extract the actual coconut oil from it and then strain it. So it was a really, really beautiful process in creating this medicine. We eventually were able to extract about 3.5 liters of oil that we all split amongst ourselves. Um, and this last photo is the herbs that were collected, that were infused into that lana oil that we prepared. That lana oil that we were preparing was um, multi-purpose for when we were to come back home and to practice hilot on our loved ones, or for stomach aches, or for bug bites. And who you see here is my Ate Janet, the elder who had those beautiful words to say in the beginning of my intro. Um, these are about 10 to 12 different herbs that were collected in the forest that we were staying in for the week, but also plant medicines that she has been collecting over the years. And we were privileged enough to be able to prepare these medicines with her. Um, it was actually raining that day too, so I don't know how they were able to tend to this fire and how we were able to prepare all this medicine in one day. But what you see here are like sambong leaves. Sambong is like some people call it like Philippine sage. There's turmeric there. There's two different kinds of ginger. There's tanglad, also known as lemongrass. So lots and lots of different plant medicines that we were working with that day. So those are the three images that I have for you. I want to be mindful of time because I know that we're gonna do like a Q&A session. So thank you all very much.
Let's give it up to Verma, everybody. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. So we have some time, y'all. This is an artist dialogue. So she shared her work. The images are so beautiful, and it just reminds me of some of the offerings my own ancestors would do for, you know, death anniversaries or anything like that. But I wanted to open up to the audience. Are there any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to ask Verma?
Yes. Hi, Verma. It's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. Um, I am actually very happy that you brought up Lana because, and actually hearing the word Lana, because the last time I heard it was from my grandma, who I was very close to when I was younger. And actually, um, I was looking back at my own childhood, and I knew of Lana before Vicks, before Robitussin, before Tylenol, and whenever I had a stomach ache or a cold, she would actually heat up the oils with some green onion and rub it on my back. It hurt so much, but it helped, right? Um, do you do you know the process of making it so that you'll be able to teach, or do you have like a recipe or something like that? Because I would love to learn how to make it, and
Yeah.
use it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I encourage people to actually, like since we're like quarantined and can't really go out often, this actually can be a very therapeutic process for you to make your own Lana oil at home. My first Hilo teacher, which is my Tita Carol, she only uses coconut oil. That's it, period. Right. And so some people say that you can just use coconut oil at like Rainbow Grocery. But Davi, my elder in the first slide, he can't comprehend that we use coconut milk from cans or from bags. But there's an abundance of it back home. But there definitely is something about like harvesting your coconut and cracking it open and having to go on your kudguran to get all the meat out and to get the milk and then extract the oil, boil it, drain it. Um, Depending also like on the tribe, if they do practice hilot in their region. I know that there's one elder who says that you can only use the coconut that's facing the east and the first coconut to be hit by the sun that's rising. And imagine how long you would have to wait to have at least like this much of coconut oil, And so it's not just about obtaining the coconut oil, but what was the intention, right, of preparing it, and then even the intention of application. So I invite you all to just like go to your Lola or your Tita or your Ninang's altar and look at that bottle that has like hella dust on it and be like, hey, what do you use this for? So absolutely I would love to share that with you, Joe, and thank you for sharing your memories with us.
Thank
And
you.
also, I saw on the picture there's a mint grass, which is tanglad, yeah. And I remember my grandmother boiling that for us to drink to put us to sleep. Is that what you learned there, or is that just some kind of a you know region type of belief?
Yeah, I that's my favorite thing about doing plant sharings is that I get to learn. What region are you from? Is your family
Visayas.
in the Visayas? Yeah, so I love learning how like family remedies and the regional practices of using the herbs. I from the teachers that I learned who are from like the Luzon area or from throughout the Visayas, like they would use tanglad for like a bath
Mm-hmm.
for new mothers, a vaginal steam bath, suob, or they would use it for stomach ailments. But it makes perfect sense that lemongrass is used to put you to sleep because it also relaxes you. And I think that that's something I read too from like a Western perspective of what
Yes.
lemongrass is used for. But that's just something that our elders already knew this intuitively. Thank
Mm.
you.
I think we have time for one more question or comment.
Hi, Verma. My name is Virda.
Hi.
So happy to get to experience your work. I'm just wondering what's next since you went on this kind of like motherland pilgrimage and um, both during as an artist during lives, but just what were your plans to share this knowledge, or if at all, or just what was next. And I just want to say I really resonate with going back to them. I'm Thai, and when you're a Thai person in Daly City, I have all Filipino friends. um, but I really resonate with going to the motherland and not just having it be a shopping trip, but having it be reconnecting to heritage. And it just warms my heart to see somebody else do this and share this. So thank you very much. I'd love to exchange notes at some point, but I'd love to hear what's next for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was actually already planning. So, like, I had like 5 or 6 events that I was planning while I was in the Philippines. Like, I really enjoyed like my time going off the grid and like 5 weeks immersing myself in this work. But I was like, damn, I miss being in a bed. Like, I miss a toilet. I just want an air conditioned mall. And so I spent a week, in a hotel in Makati. My Western self just like needed that little bit of comfort. And I was planning like knowledge sharings. I was planning like retreats. I was planning all of these things. And of course, like COVID really put a stop to that. But what hasn't stopped in my planning was the relationship building with my elders in the Philippines, which thank goodness for Facebook Messenger. I they're still at arm's reach, and so the focus now is how do I continue to support them like financially, right? Because I think that is a bigger conversation as well, is that we talk about reconnecting to um, our our elders, our ancestors, the land, and we talk about it as if it's it's like this ethereal thing. But no, like, land is real, it is there is people there, indigenous people are alive, we don't speak of them in the past, right? And so that speaks to another reason why I wanted to do this work, is because like I wanted to show that there are folks that are actively tending to the land, and that it's important for us as folks within whatever diaspora we're in is to come back, and really to put our coins back into sustaining their livelihoods. Ate Janet, in particular, she's a non-indigenous person, but in the Philippines, but she works with our indigenous elders throughout Palawan to help them sustain their rituals. And they can't sustain their rituals because they don't have money. Like, they can't afford to buy a pig. They can't afford to have rice brought up into like their villages. They can't afford to like get the coffee and the cookies to host the 70 people in the neighboring villages. And those were um, the learnings that she didn't directly have to tell me was important, right? And those are the things that I was able to learn with myself, and what has become like next steps for me. And really, like, having platforms like this, like thank you to you all, thank you, Arlene, because this is an invitation, for you don't have to be Filipino to like to see that this is something that's important. It transcends like racial and ethnic and like religious social constructs. So really, like, coming back to what does it mean to be a steward of the land, like what does it mean to sustain our ancient practices, like what does it mean to like come back. So thank you. for raising that question.
Thank you so much, Verma. I appreciate your work. I appreciate your art. And it's great to see how much you've grown as an artist, right? As a photographer. I remember meeting you a long, long time ago and you brought pictures to teach a lesson plan. And I was like, wow, she's amazing. And so it's good to see like the intention behind your art, what you are doing in terms of following your purpose and what that looks like in connection to the motherland and your own ancestors and the people between here and the diaspora. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing your art. And for being our very first artist on this virtual world. And I will be sure, hopefully I can get some emails from the people that did sign up. Maybe we can follow up with some of your information and maybe they can get updates on what you're doing in the future. Verma does hold really nice, knowledge sharing and workshops, and I'm a student of Verma, so hopefully, y'all can learn from her as well. So thank you so much, Verma. Thank you so much to everybody that showed up today, our commissioners for helping, figure out how we're going to do this. Stephen and Leilani for supporting us. And good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Verma. Thank you.
Good night. Good job, Berms.